Writing with English language learners. Hi, I'm Anisha Grace Koshi. Um, and the question that I wanted to answer was how can I support ELLs in mastering writing skills? So, Write talks about developmental stages of writing, and the first stage is scribble, and then it moves on to letter formation. I added oral language skills because I think this is an important developmental stage of writing. And then letters representing words or thoughts, stylized sentences, which is basic sentence structures, and then it moves on to more standardized writing. So in order for us to be able to help our students do academic writing, we need to understand the expectations from them. So in elementary, the kids are expected to write narrative, informative, and opinion writing, whereas in high school, it's more geared towards evidence-based writing. So they need to be able to read the text, develop positions, and find evidence. So I looked at the Common Core standards in order to understand these expectations and pulled out some key phrases that would give me an idea of this. So in kindergarten, some of the phrases were opinion, information, narrate, sequence, react. Um, and then in grade 12, um, they had support, reason, evidence, examine, organization, analysis, imagine, sequence, research, solve, inquire, synthesize, demonstrate, gather, assess, integrate, have flow to their writing, evidence, reflection. Um, and so as you can see, there's a focus on higher order cognition, and our ELLs not only have to understand what these terms mean, but have to understand how to use these terms or to answer the questions that these terms pose in their writing. And so this can be a huge challenge for both them and for us as teachers. Some other issues that ELLs face is vocabulary, cultural responses. I once asked a kid to write about his birthday and he gave me a blank look. I later on learned that in their culture they don't celebrate birthdays. Um, and so we need to be aware of that. Exposure. In many cultures, young kids are not encouraged to state their opinions. So when they are asked to write their opinions, this could be quite a chore for them to be able to articulate their opinions on something. Spelling, grammar, syntax, of course. Some useful tools to keep in mind while we're helping ELLs write is model, build vocabulary, provide corrective feedback, have sentence frames, progressive steps. So this is step-by-step writing processes, and then graphic organizers. So I'm going to talk about some of these briefly. Model writing. Moore conducted an experiment where he modeled writing with second graders, and in this he engaged kids in discussion focused on vocabulary, co-constructed sentences, specifically focused on academic sentences, and then he allowed students to take their writing in their own direction. And he found that in the group where the teachers modeled writing, they were more successful in picking up writing skills. He also found that they were able to transfer the skill in other areas. So the study was conducted specifically on non-fiction writing, so informative writing, but the kids also progressed um, in their narrative writing skills. Corrective feedback. So this is used to improve student achievement. It aims at reinforcing expectations and correcting students' errors during lesson. TEDx talks about 4 types of corrections. Explicit, where the teacher points out the mistakes and then corrects it. Recast, where the teacher does not point out the mistake but rephrases what the student said so that it's correct. Clarification, where the teacher asks a question like 2 plus 2 is 5, so that the student has to rethink. And then meta-linguistic clues, where the teacher provides various questions and clues to help the students understand their errors. And he found that students did not appreciate explicit correction. They didn't mind the other types of feedback, but they did not appreciate explicit correction. A similar study was done in Saudi Arabia, where the kids were given corrective feedback, first in one way, and then the second time they were taught on how to correct their mistakes, and the students really benefited from being taught how to do this. So teachers should provide students with cues to help them reformulate their answers and train them to correct their own mistakes. All right, graphic organizers. So during quarantine, some of my ELLs really struggled to do their academic tasks, and so I created this. This is a video where we talked about the main topic, and then some subtopics under it, and then I posed various sentence frames and questions so that kids would be able to think of possible answers and think of what they want to write under this topic. And then when we were ready, this is the graphic organizer I gave them depending on their level. And so I did this with one of the kids on Zoom. He had to pick 4 subtopics. He told me what he wanted to write. I wrote down the key words, and then I took a picture of this and sent it to him, and he was able to produce a page and a half on this topic. All right, so we talked about step-by-step writing, and that is important because it helps us to understand where to start and how to progress from there. So Wright talks about model writing, and then moving on to shared writing, where the teacher writes down what the students say, and then guided writing, where the teacher teaches a particular skill and the students practice that. Interactive writing, where the students interact with each other, they work together with student and teacher, and they produce a writing task, but the students are also writing. And then independent writing, where they are writing on their own, and then process writing, where they talk about the different stages for publishing their work. Pang talks about a different step-by-step process, and so she starts with vocabulary. So students need to understand vocabulary. So this is vocabulary is a big issue because they may not know the right words, and then there are phrasal verbs and homophones, and this could confuse students. So Pang stresses on the importance of introducing vocabulary in context and in different contexts. So vocabulary needs to be introduced in context, and then the teachers need to model use and then provide opportunities for the students to be able to practice this. Other worthy mentions in this in the area of vocabulary is invented spellings. I think it's important to teach kids how to use invented spellings so that they are not worried about spellings. Samway says that it's a good skill because it reflects the knowledge of phonics and establishes the limit that phonics has in English language. Word balls are very helpful. So Pang says that after the students have understood vocabulary, they could be introduced to book reviews. So the students retell a story, the teachers can scaffold use of vocabulary from the books, bullet points can be used, graphic organizers can be used, and then these bullet points can be used to construct sentences. These can be turned into paragraphs, and then you add the beginning and the conclusion. And then once the kids are comfortable with this skill, then introduce journal writing. They can, similar amount of scaffolding can be provided, but the kids have to come up with ideas on what to write. And so one of the suggestions was that they could carry portable journals where they can jot down any particular vocabulary or draw a picture of something that they would be interested in writing. And once they're able to do this, they can move on to creative writing. And so creative writing can be challenging, and so Pang suggests that you do not start with creative writing, but this comes on at a later stage. And then finally, peer sharing, where they write for an audience and they share their writing with their audience when they feel comfortable enough to do so. Okay, so inquiry-based learning is useful in answering a research question. And so while helping kids do this, Banshi talks about 4 levels of inquiry-based learning. First is confrontation, then structured, and these are more teacher focused, and then guided inquiry and open inquiry, and these are higher level learning. So the first level, using confirmation inquiry to practice writing, the teacher can offer reading materials, pull out key vocabulary, facilitate critical thinking. Then step 2, they can teach the kids how to use bullets and graphic organizers and use the vocabulary in this. And then step 3, help the students collect evidence and facts to support key point. And step 4, help them organize evidence and facts to compose a written product. So the teacher scaffolding the whole time. Level 2 is application of structured inquiry in writing, where the teacher encourages the students to write observations based on an experience. So the students can plant a tree and write about their observations. So the teachers support with vocabulary and facilitate critical thinking again. Then the next level is guided inquiry, where the students explore research methods and experiments to solve a problem independently. The teacher still offers her help and suggestions and may even offer a research problem. And the final stage, open inquiry, where the students are completely independent. All right. Another very interesting study, two interesting studies that I came across was using pictures in creative writing. And so the first one by Olshansky said pictures are the first language. As it is expression free from rules. And so she stresses on securing ideas in art before expressing it in words. And she says that image making leads to image reading, which is like pre-writing moving to oral rehearsal stage of writing. Another study was done on the use of photographs, and he said that this inspired creative writing amongst the ELL kids. It brought their outside school world inside the school. It helped increase the enthusiasm for writing and created opportunities for creative communication. All right, thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you will be able to support your kids in academic writing. These are my references. Thank you.